Welcome. Today's post is, Post-McCarthyism, Russian Witch Hunt, and the Roaring Kitty Grabbers. Published on October 6, 2023. Have you noticed the uncanny similarity between the 2016 Trump-Pence logo and the latest Minnesota Twins logo? Or that the Twins just broke a curse and had their first playoff win since 2004? Looks like the MLB Twins will be sending comms about Trump. And what else happened in 2004? That'd be when Trump makes his comeback in his hit show The Apprentice. Here are the topics we'll be decoding today. You can always find this list in the description below. If you enjoy this video, please press the like button, and subscribe for weekly full-length blog posts, and shorter, more shareable videos. Let's begin. This week was a first in the history of Congress. The Speaker was removed by the House. Trump has been widely reported as a front-runner for this position and has been receptive to the idea. Let's dig into comms around this. It's worth noting that if Trump were to take this position, he would be third in line for POTUS. I've already decoded extensive coordination for Biden's downfall, so this is a plausible path for that. Invoking Trump via logo. Have you seen the new logo for the Minnesota Twins? Virtually unchanged since 1986, and then in 2022 they suddenly turn it into the spitting image of Trump's campaign logo. Only instead of P we have a C. If this is where Trump comms are coordinated, what might we see now? I wouldn't have thought much of it except for the fact the Minnesota Twins have recently broken a curse. Their first playoff win since 2004. They had the world record for most playoff losses in a row. So, suddenly the Trump logo went from endless losses to epic win. But there are many more reasons to connect these dots. For one thing, notice the second to last Q post just so happened to be the same day the logo changed. With the stringer, future event, of Ascension. Why use the Minnesota Twins for this? There are several reasons. One of which is the last win they had was in 2004. Which is when Trump made his comeback with mainstream media promotion through The Apprentice. Mainstream media coming around to Trump. Ballot stuffing bunker. What story might prompt this? Notice this publicity stunt done by Nabisco. A concrete bunker to preserve the Oreo recipe. Tied to the VP-1 asteroid impact. November 3, 2018, VP-1 discovered. November 6, 2018, election date. August 23, 2020, VP-1 asteroid could hit one day before election, VP equals Vice President Biden. November 2, 2020, VP-1 approaches Earth. November 3, 2020, U.S. election. Notice the mailboxes as target of asteroid. Comms of ballot stuffing via mail. This is something I've decoded, but it now has new context. 1974 double stuff Oreos introduced. 1974 video voter patented, first electronic voting. Ballot stuffing comms. Question, promote mail-in voting as only safe method to bypass NSA election security. Thus we can translate this as bunker to preserve evidence of voter fraud. The narrative ops continue towards the big conclusion. And there is a much stronger reason to connect these dots specifically with McCarthy. Notice the news with McCarthy removed causing Ukraine to freak out about aid. This is compounded by Musk also rejecting their requests and nearly starting a war with Congress. Why do I connect that with Minnesota Twins? Well, actually, I already decoded some of the Minnesota Twins history, in this post right here. Do you notice that title? It's comms about Joe McCarthy being removed coordinated through MLB Minnesota Twins. Well, technically it was the Senators, but they became the Twins in the 1960s. These MLB comms coordinated the fall of the Republican leader of the Russian witch hunt. Sound familiar? Trump plus Russia conspiracy? Invoking Joe plus McCarthy. A man named Joe plus McCarthy. June 17, 1954. Televised Senate McCarthy hearings end. June 18, 1954. Casey at the bat, legend of failed batter. June 19, 1954. Lester Hunt's suicide due to Herman Welker's blackmail. June 19, 1954. Harmon Killebrew signs to senators due to Herman Welker, McCarthy's closest ally. The Russian witch hunt ends with a man literally named Lester Hunt becoming a martyr at the hands of McCarthy's close ally. Senator House of Representatives Herman Welker killer of Hunt/Senator MLB Harmon Clayton Killebrew, killer nickname. Herman/Harmon. Killer/killer. Senator/senator. The Hunt scandal snowballs into his loss of credibility, which in turn paves the way for his removal. Downfalls are coordinated. May 2, 1957. McCarthy death at Bethesda. October 30, 1957. Herman Welker death at Bethesda, McCarthy ally. Scandals, deaths, spooks, no more pressure. November 26, 1961. Spitball return rejected by MLB. November 26, 1961. Final McCarthy Red Scare pusher Henry Styles blackmailer death. There's a lot more in the post, so I'll stop regurgitating it. Seems pretty relevant today. The sudden removal of McCarthy as head of Congress, the teasing of Trump's return and win which would require the Russian witch hunt to end. I can't help but wonder if McCarthy had that position specifically to invoke the Russian hunt. His fight against Russia in Ukraine is a large part of what got him ejected. I punctuate these findings with a warning. Sports is among my weakest subjects for decoding. That's not to say this is wrong. I just know better than to make predictions with subjects I'm not fluent in. One of many I've barely begun to solve. Even if I'm right, it doesn't mean the comms will go the way we hope anyway. I don't even yet know what the symbol for twins is, but I did learn that the origin of Twins team was tied to the new ability for people to drive to games. Interesting because April 24, 1956. First game played in future Minnesota Twins baseball stadium. April 27, 1956. Federal Aid Highway Act passes House, most expensive public works project of all time. So it may have its origin riding the coattails of big House of Representatives funding. I'm not always right, but I always show you why I think what I think. No promises of insider knowledge here, just all my cards on the table at all times. I've said plenty of times that Trump leaving was necessary to do what needed to be done, that Biden's role was to soak up the blame for things that would have killed Trump politically. Afghanistan, I mentioned, but a better example is Wall Street. Trump post-election, roaring kitty grabber. Within 2 days of Trump leaving, a short squeeze killed hedge funds. January 20, 2021. Joe Biden presidency begins. January 22, 2021. Historic short squeeze on GameStop led by Trump mascot Reddit community. January 26, 2021. Musk links to r/Wall Street bets. Musk reappearing. The mascot was a generic baby until it was Trumped in 2016 and adopted his campaign hat and then hair. So for Trump to leave and then immediately an icon of him pulls billions from hedge funds and much of that flows into a poor community. I think that's telling. They made a documentary about it, Dumb Money, which I just watched. It explains how a YouTube/Reddit user pulled off the first successful case of a poor community successfully taking billions from on Wall Street. It also helps clarify positions. They mention how in the last century there were only 2 cases where anyone had any success taking on hedge funds with a short squeeze. The most notable of which was Piggly Wiggly in 1923, and while it worked at first, Wall Street simply changed rules and bankrupted him. So needless to say, it was a very big deal, and the hedge fund that lost billions went defunct. June 29, 2022. Q post, who has control? June 30, 2022. Melvin Capital defunct date. Note the posts leading up to that. It had to be done this way. Shall we play a game once more? Shall we play a game, stop, once more? And picking GameStop for the vehicle to make an example out of hedge funds is meaningful. The leader of this being a man tied to cat symbols. Roaring kitty, kitty equals bank. Notice the people he makes rich, one of which is first shown literally doing a parody of Trump's famous Access Hollywood gaffe. The cat symbols representing not just money here but the comms community, I suspect. As this was largely fueled by combining the kitty of multitudes of people. One of the most famous examples of short selling is when George Soros broke the Bank of England. In the film it explains the process is typically like a vampire, where big money like George Soros comes into a company, sucks out all assets before leaving with no consequences. Examples are given of how people who had worked from bag boy to the top of major companies and suddenly lost not just their jobs but pensions and everything else due to these practices. The fact they call individual investors dumb money paints how the masses are viewed. The mechanics of which are that hedge funds bet against a stock and if it goes up they have to pay the difference. Thus as multitudes of investors pumped the stock the hedge fund had to pay more and more until bankruptcy. When they bet against a company like that, effectively it's a death sentence, but here it backfired. All of it coordinated by many across social media with multitudes in community and Elon Musk and Trump mascots supporting the charge. Interesting to note the figures shown promoting in film as it suggests they are on board now as well. Some obvious ones but others this is as close I have seen to confirmation of it. Though it's not a certainty. It ends with him running naked as was suggested throughout the film to do in a lightning storm. Exposure comms. It also ends saying he last posted April 16, 2021 but what did was only the beginning which is interesting given. April 16, 2021. Roaring Kitty Keith Gill final post. April 16, 2021. Dogecoin spikes 400% in a week. April 16, 2021. What the cicadas will leave behind. Another one Musk has strongly promoted. Also, I can't help but notice the KG/KG initials of the leader of this and Ken Griffin being the other one tied to this whole orchestration. KG/KG, especially with Ken Griffin, sounds like a KGB comm given Ken Griffey Sr/Jr. was how they were once symbolized in transition during the USSR breakup. One of the points of the film is in holding to get the hedge funds to pay more. A reason for this confidence in the stock in the film was Ryan Cohen of PetSmart/Chewy January 2021. This is what officially triggered the big squeeze. Think about the symbolism of that. You have Keith Gill symbolized by many cats. A legion of pets following his example. And the person that takes over GameStop. A company dedicated to taking care of pets. That is likely the implicit symbolism, but there is another level to it. Just before the pandemic Ryan Cohen recreated the concept of Pets.com in online shipping. Pets.com is notable as it was the poster child of the dot-com boom and bust. Suddenly the hottest thing on the planet and then bankrupt. Comparisons were publicized between the two. I cover it extensively in this post. The symbol of pumping up a balloon only to let it pop. That is why it was defined as a falloon, fall plus balloon. Likely it having national shipping upset retailers and so an example was made of it. So it was the symbol of the internet bubble bursting. Which happened and bankrupted many people. This was choreographed from the start as the first commercial begins, what goes up, must come down. This was repeated during its unusual entry as a falloon to the Macy Thanksgiving parade. What goes up must come down. You got no money, you got no home. Which just demonstrates how aware people were of what was to come. Macy's being a major retail chain. The parade balloon comms symbolizing parties being pumped. October 27, 28/1858 New York, New York, Macy's founded largest retail store in world. October 27, 1858, New York, New York, Teddy Roosevelt born, teddy bear origin. That's not the most common thing teddy is used to symbolize, but it's all connected. Notice this year they are introducing a one-piece balloon. That fits it being pumped as I've seen and gone over lately. A positive thing to pump. Kid on a path to being a terrorist and a cheap solution, straw hat gift, to teach a positive philosophy. Let's consider the history and how far we've come. History of justice in court. After all, if we are going somewhere better now, what went wrong before? March 14, 1910, Standard Oil vs. USA, Supreme Court breaks up oil monopoly into 34 independent companies. March 14, 1910, oil spill largest in history, Guinness record. Standard Oil split up into pieces across country equals world's largest oil spill symbolism. That is a type of calm I've decoded many times before. It's a way to announce what is going on behind closed doors of a court. Standard Oil had withstood court charges in 1892, but at the very start of this case we have a media exclamation that this would be different. March 12, 1910, German Antarctic expedition wants to verify theory of divided continent. March 14, 1910, Standard Oil breakup case. Breakup equals divided. Would they really break up the oil monopoly? This sentiment in calms. It also clarifies Antarctic calms. Standard Oil was broken into just about every oil company that exists today. This does not necessarily mean it was broken up, though. If each child is controlled through blackmail strings from the original, does it count as independent? I'm not saying that's the case, yet. But it is clear there's something fishy going on with this case. The basic history, if you are to believe it, is that Teddy Roosevelt heroically beat Rockefeller. But if you followed my decodes, you know that's the opposite of what would make sense. That video presents Teddy as winner and Rockefeller as the loser, and yet then casually mentions the end result. The fact that this case dramatically increased Rockefeller's wealth. To the point he became the world's first billionaire. Notice the nuances of the video as well. That Rockefeller famously was playing golf when he got the news. He turns to a priest and suggests they buy Standard Oil stock, then he shoots the best game of golf of his life. Fits perfectly with golf/gold comms. September 13, 1869, Jay Gould and Fisk begin attempt to control U.S. gold market. September 16, 1869, golf's first recorded hole-in-one. September 24, 1869, Black Friday, Wall Street panic, gold prices plummet due to Gould's conspiracy. The newspaper depicted Teddy as a naked baby Hercules wrestling with Standard Oil snakes. May ring a bell if you have followed by Teddy decodes. The point outside of comms was the push for Teddy as a hero fighting corruption. That Teddy documentary also explains how the public got on board with the narrative of Teddy as the hero defeating Rockefeller. The world's first investigative journalist exposing Rockefeller, which led to the breakup. Notice her name, Tarbell. Ever hear of tarring and feathering? Symbolism of creating a frenzy of negative press. But as you can see, it was all a show. A show designed to generate money and turn Teddy into a hero for the public. Teddy's scandals turned into puff pieces. Like heroically refusing to demands to give back money donated to his campaign by Rockefeller. It also goes over how Rockefeller created a nationwide espionage network and Tarbell portrayed him as reptilian. Portraying him inhuman to create a spectacle. More comms when it started. March 14, 1910, Standard Oil breakup court case. March 18, 1910, Mystery of Temple Court, secret marriage plot. March 18, 1910, Frankenstein first movie. Frankenstein equals many entities combined into one monster. The origin of the antitrust push was U.S. versus Northern Securities. A tug of war trying to control the railroads between J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller vs. a man who secretly tried to take over despite being funded by J.P. Morgan. This was 1901 and McKinley refused to prosecute. But he was assassinated and Roosevelt went after it. February 19, 1902, antitrust announced Northern Securities. February 20, 1902, divorce, Guinness record highest dollar awarded in case of cheating spouse Sioux Falls. February 27, 1902, money awarded. February 27, 1902, Bank Leumi founded largest Israel bank. The symbolism of cheating spouse, might be of going behind the back of Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan to buy railroads out from under them. Standard Oil made the first billionaire. This breakup may be a similar but smaller dollar windfall. It may explain the biggest bank starting then. But those aren't confident decodes yet. I'm just tracking the biggest court cases. I've been working on various sports played on courts. I find it interesting. Pickleball exploded in popularity during COVID. Pickle being a phallic object kept preserved in water. Might explain the Gates ties to the origins. October 18, 2019. Bill Gates Global Coronavirus Simulation, Dark Winter. October 18, 2019. Wuhan Military World Games begins. Plus 30 days. November 17, 2019. Wuhan COVID first appears. Just a hypothesis to test later. Pickle, quick explanation. CIA equals pickle factory. The basic idea of a pickle factory as a symbol. The CIA designed for putting someone into a pickle that is being in a difficult situation. What is being blackmailed if not intentionally creating such a situation? Again. A pickle being a cucumber captured in water and preserved in cold. The phallic shape reinforcing the idea of what is captured. Depending on circumstance, some likely choose willingly to get blackmailed while others are spied upon while tricked. A reader pointed me to some interesting dates this week. Congress Extinction Event. What does it mean to go extinct? What does it mean to be no more? June 5, 1980, Soviet T-2 launch. June 6, 1980, dinosaur-killing asteroid Chicxulub first published. June 6, 1980, false alarm Soviet nuclear strike on U.S., inspires 1983 movie War Games. There are only a few major false nuclear alarms and charting them out provided a partial answer. June 3, 1980, nuclear false alarm showing 1,400 Soviet victims approach. June 3, 1980, Jimmy Carter renominated for POTUS run. By itself this means little, but with one more data point. November 5, 1979, Iran hostage crisis officially begins. November 8, 1979, Iran hostage crisis, hostages listed. November 9, 1979, nuclear false alarm. Note this is connected to the June 3 alarm with Carter's renomination. January 20, 1981, Iran hostage crisis ends. January 20, 1981, Ronald Reagan elected. Take all those data points together, and it paints a picture. The point of a false alarm of 1,400 Soviet victims approaching is recontextualized, because the symbolism is of a Soviet threat, and what was Reagan in relation to Carter? One was seen as tough, the other weak. I've already decoded Carter as having a thrown election, and the Iran hostage crisis was one of several elements that ushered that in. A false alarm that rang non-stop in the media until the end of Carter. The comms painted out what was to come. Carter may not have even won against Ted Kennedy in the primaries. 6.6 independent vote in that race. 66 Iran hostages. 66 countries ban the 1980 Olympics. June 6, 1980, false nuclear alarm. June 6, 1980, 66 million years for the dinosaur-killing asteroid published. So this gives us a likely answer for extinction symbolism. Removal of those in power. In this case Carter. I have shown in the past Neanderthal extinction comms tied to this, but it seems this is another variation. A sequence comm from the New York Post as Trump was leaving. Also conveying the connection between the two administrations. Notice also the Iran hostage crisis was timed perfectly to 444 days to Reagan inauguration. November 4, 1979, Iran hostage crisis. Plus 444 days. January 20, 1981, Reagan inauguration. Meaning they were from the start intending this, false alarms, letting comms aware know it's all a movie. 444. Sound familiar? History repeats. Though that movie didn't lead to mass awakenings, so it's not exactly the same. Let's drill down into that dinosaur extinction more. It was found by an employee of Pemex in 1978 as they scouted for oil drilling areas. This is a crucial detail because notice this chart of oil spills. See my giant arrow? Guess the when and who. 1978 Pemex asteroid Chicxulub killing dinosaur found while looking for oil drilling. June 3, 1979. Start of Pemex Ixtoc, the largest oil drilling spill in history. March 23, 1980. End of Pemex Ixtoc oil spill. So, in 1978 they found the dinosaur killer. The asteroid killing dinos tied to oil drilling was no accident. Oil spill equals rising gas price. Did massive gas prices help or hurt Carter? This was one of the reasons it was such a landslide. Reagan famously lowered prices dramatically right away. There are parts I'm not clear on. Speculation. The connection to the space launches, for example. T2 launch raised my eyebrow. Reminded a reader of You, Too and Me of Arnold's T2. May 13, 1982, T5 Soyuz launch. May 14, 1982, Conan the Barbarian, Arnold's big break. Probably nothing, but I haven't decoded Conan, but felt compelled to mention it. I've seen that film in contexts in my own MK past, but that's not what this thread is about. Arnold Schwartz comms tie into Soros comms for a few reasons. Arnhold, his firm, and Schwartz, his original name. 66 countries banned Soviet Olympics in 1980 for the Afghanistan War. November 8, 1933, King of Afghanistan reign. November 16, 1933, FDR recognizes Soviet Union. King overthrown in 70s. December 24, 1979, Soviet-Afghanistan War. December 27, 1979, Bobrak, leader of Afghanistan, ends a week after Chernobyl. I haven't drawn conclusions on those last points. I merely recognized the 666 comms were tied to the Afghanistan feud. The transitions suggested a link with FDR/U.N. and supporting kings. It made me wonder if it was a NK puppet situation. But that's a dig for another day. Trying to find more clarity. Black hole, killer of light. Light equals visibility. December 20, 1979, Olympics agreement to ban Moscow Summer Olympics. December 19, 1979, Kramer vs. Kramer custody battle top film 1979. December 18, 21/1979 Black Hole first PG Disney film. December 18, 1979, UN Moon Control Treaty, not signed by USA or USSR. Black Hole was a big-budget Disney film. First violent enough for PG. Black hole symbolizes a mechanism of hiding that which would normally be seen. Hiding what? Stars Anthony Perkins, famous for playing Norman Bates in Psycho. MK Ultra Com. April 10, 2019, first ever picture of a black hole which no light can escape. April 10, 2019, diamond named Our Light presented and cut into 66 diamonds. April 11, 2019, Assange arrested. Other main character, shell equals shell symbolism and was among those fleeing Germany in World War II. Cast of famous MK plus hiding agent, shells. Basics of what is hidden behind classified walls. And a black hole, defining that which is to keep it hidden. Reconcile that timing with the black hole being released as they decided to ban the Olympics in Russia. Connected rings of Olympics define a symbol of countries working together. A rejection of that means Soviet Union would not be included in OPS. The production of the first violent Disney film, Black Hole, has likely comms to it as well. The writer dies after working on it for years. August 8, 1976, Black Hole writer Winston Hibbler death. August 9, 1976, final Russian moon mission. Dark Age begins. Script rewritten in 1977. September 17, 1976. Love Boat first pilot. September 17, 1976. Space Shuttle Enterprise launch with entire Star Trek cast. January 20, 1977. Jimmy Carter inauguration, DOE/Q. January 21, 1977. Second Love Boat pilot. May 5, 1977. Final pilot Love Boat. May 5, 1977. Kramer vs. Kramer rights purchased custody battle. Custody battle over what? Billy Kramer from Rye. Potentially invoking Catcher in the Rye. The symbolism is tied to a Burns poem about catching young people foolishly rushing to die. Carousel spin. John Lennon was murdered the next year by someone holding that book. What does it mean to catch dangerous people? The parent that loses custody in the film, Dustin Hoffman, was going through a divorce himself during the film. Parents that lived next door to terrorists that blew themselves up. The Weather Underground. They had a child the same year of the explosion. May 2, 1969. Sugarland Express kidnapping of public safety officer inspires Spielberg first film. May 4, 1969. Dustin Hoffman marries and burn. After the divorce he began seeing up Lisa. Ops transition. Weather Underground. Pro-communist group. October 6, 1969. First Weather Underground bombing destroys statue of police officer in Haymaker riots. October 6, 1969. First Michael Jackson song, I Want You Back. Lyrics, trying to get someone to return. Trying to get masses to follow along. I had decoded MJ as tied to surveillance plus blackmail comms, but this may give us a route. February 21, 1970. Jackson 5 debut on American Bandstand. February 21, 1970. Weathermen coordinated series of Molotov cocktail attacks against the New York Police Department. A whole summer of terrorism. Years of it. Goal of ending Vietnam War. Bombers, Terry Jackson and Terry Robbins. Teenagers much like Catcher in the Rye on a path to a bad end. Surveillance on dangerous elements and conditioning the masses away from it are common comms subjects. People are conditioned into mental illnesses, pushing impressionable people into hypersensitivity. January 23, 1977. Pink Floyd's famous tour. January 23, 1977. Roots highest viewed television series of all time. Pink Floyd equals weakening something tough. I had assumed in the past early MJ comms were tied to pro-rioting, but this suggests it as more likely the solution to the ongoing bombings. I Want You Back, as in getting the masses to listen and follow along. A child as figurehead to symbolize teaching from child up. This ties into the recent One Piece push to new audiences. An epitome of mass conditioning and a rare objectively moral methodology. Kid on a path to being a terrorist and a cheap solution, straw hat gift, to teach a positive philosophy. That first Weatherman attack blew up the statues of police memorial of the 1886 Haymaker bombing. May 4, 1886. Haymarket Affair bombing Chicago, 8 deaths. May 8, 1886. Pharmacist begins to sell Coca-Cola. Q highlighted the Russian reset as nothing more than a pathway to the Iran deal. $400 million sent by helicopters for a promise of not blowing people up with nuclear weapons. Snowden changes to NSA data collection hit just in time to make it invisible. It all sounds like a heist. Reminds me of that South Park episode highlighting Obama's motives for becoming president. Literally robbing the country in a heist. It wouldn't have worked if not for the years of media prep work, and there are surely other examples. Mass Psych push, scare tactics. Iran deal prep. March 24, 2007. UN Security Resolution against Iranian nuclear program. March 23, 2007. Potter Puppet Pals, the mysterious ticking noise. Famous early YouTube video, stage play dancing to the ticking of a pipe bomb. Symbol perhaps of a staged threat. I give the benefit of the doubt when possible, about them being real, at least until comms make it clear it's not. ISIS and camera on POTUS. For example, notice this moniker of ISIS and the question of how it was formed. While there is a deep history, I'll show another angle. September 6, 1975. Secrets of ISIS debut, first female superhero show. September 5, 1975. Gerald Ford assassination attempt by female Manson follower, Lynette Alice Squeaky, from. Flying heroine named Cameron has Mason as love interest and is a high school teacher. Another flying high school teacher show hit a few years later. March 18, 1981. The Greatest American Hero begins airing with main character, Hinckley. March 30, 1981. President Reagan and others are shot by a man named Hinckley. Take those two last comms together, and it paints a picture of a partial psyop. The story itself is literally about a superhero with an alien suit, school teacher trying to thwart an attack on the president's life. Alien suit in Greatest American Hero, and in the ISIS show it involves surveillance of aliens. Remember, this was the first female superhero on TV, and the same month two different women decided to make a public spectacle trying to kill President Ford. The point of which is not something I can define with certainty. I suspected it might be a psyop to get his numbers up, but the polling doesn't reflect major changes. It may have been a threat, but whatever it was choreographed and led to Carter replacing him. I said a partial psyop because I believe the acts themselves are real. Brainwashed individuals driven to act. In Ford's case, it was the Manson family. The same Manson family that would famously kill Roman Polanski's wife Sharon Tate. What comms led to these? June 12, 1968. Rosemary's Baby, Roman Polanski film. August 9, 1969. Sharon Tate Polanski Manson murder. August 10, 1969. Rosemary Manson family murder. Famous human sacrifice movie. How might Hollywood be kept in line? I go over more of the Greatest American Hero here. But the Secrets of ISIS is a new decode. It goes a long way to clarify the other with similarities. Both are about flying school teachers with alien powers tied to surveillance. First female superhero on TV, same month two women become stars trying to kill Ford. Love interest, Mason, same thing Q pointed out at the scene of every shooting. That show was CBS, which as a network was purchased in 1995. August 2, 1995. Michael Jordan of Westinghouse Electric buys CBS for $5.4 billion. November 3, 1996. Michael Jordan NBA championship run begins. He married a Hillary in NYC during Hillary's NYC Senate run. Agreement for positive press/cooperation. March 4, 2000. Hillary marries Michael Jordan CBS. March 15, 2000. Fatal shooting, police department, HRC seized on shooting as campaign issue to come from behind and beat Rudy Giuliani. Another shooting used as a spectacle for an election. A tool. How are such things ordered and delivered? Looking at the HRC campaign and how she used those events to rise with a killing clarifies the mechanics. April 19, 1987. Simpsons debut. April 19, 1987. Maria Sharapova, most famous Russian sports star born. Note she escaped Chernobyl. Surveillance ops transition. May 10, 1955. Homer Simpson official birthdate, Ping Pong Eyes, employed nuclear power plant, burns. May 10, 1955. Mark David Chapman born, killer of John Lennon, poem Origin by Burns. May 9, 1955. Kermit the Frog introduced, Ping Pong Eyes. June 26, 1954. Junior morning show, Jim Henson begins his famous career with a French rat puppet. June 26, 1954. First nuclear plant commissioned in Russia. Coordination of puppets being a part of nuclear ops. I went over the Weather Underground terrorist group, but I didn't decode their name. A reader took it upon themselves to do it for me. Why were they called Weather Underground? That's a question I usually would have asked, but didn't. They found a prominent organization with the same name equals thread to pull. April 19, 1993. Waco siege conclusion: 25 child hostages burned to death. April 20, 1993. Allen launches award-winning Weather Underground precursor, Blue Skies for Child Classrooms. This is a big find. And now we have the information necessary to decode this thing. Before I do that, I want to mention the original program, Blue Skies, is the same term Q used to denote an ability to run ops thanks to Obama/Snowden removing NSA tech. Also notable, Obama began his career through the Weather Underground. Or at least was likely introduced to Chicago politics through the founder of it. So, what does this have to do with Waco? Well, what is a weatherman in relation to terrorism? The Weather Underground name has its origins in a Bob Dylan song. March 7, 1965, Bloody Sunday, footage of Selma becomes turning point in civil rights movement. March 8, 1965, Subterranean Homesick Blues released, origin of Weather Underground name. This answers everything. Subterranean equals underground. The invoked line in the song, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Weatherman equals letting you know what is coming. That's the symbol. Note the lyrics. Ties into Waco as orchestrated boiling points were targets. It begs the question if weather organizations are tied to ops monitoring/prediction. October 3, 1970, NOAA Weather Monitoring/Forecasting Agency. October 5, 1970, weathermen returned to first bombing target to finish blowing up the police officer statue, then warned of more bombing plans. Before Waco, the Weather Underground had one more release. May 3, 1992. First Weather Underground program. Telnet Time Weather became most popular service on Internet. May 1, 1992. School shooting, Lyndhurst, California. Weather info to masses and warning system for comms aware. There are a few school shootings a year, but you remember, I'm sure, how Hillary gained her seat in the Senate through this kind of thing. Taking power by creating outrage, and to create outrage they must use tragedy. Of course, one can't hope for tragedy to happen. These things are instead planned and timed to desired moments. Once planned/executed, then sheep herding, which leads to political gain. The point of predicting weather is nuanced. It was likely terrorists were known to be doing certain kinds of things around a certain time, and so they were given a face. Public, given a way to contextualize the sudden and shocking events. Blue Sky. Interesting to note, Blue Skies is also the name of a recently trending app said to be the top contender to compete with Twitter. As for the point. October 4, 2021, Blue Sky launched. October 4, 2021, third most liked tweet of 2021, hello, literally everyone. October 4, 2021, all major social media down except Twitter for 6 hours. No way is that a coincidence, but what can be made of it? 10 to 4 equals acknowledgement to do something agreed upon. Note the cat giving a thumbs up. The number one top tweet was Joe Biden. It's a new day in America. Remember the cat comms that week? Within 2 days of Trump leaving, a short squeeze killed hedge funds. January 20, 2021, Joe Biden presidency begins. January 22, 2021, historic short squeeze on GameStop led by Trump mascot Reddit community. January 26, 2021, Musk links to r/Wall Street bets. You may notice Blue Sky just so happens to have been founded in Delaware, Biden's state. Specifically Wilmington, which is where Biden taught law. I'm not sure what to make of that, so let's reconcile what we know. It was created on a day when for 6 hours all social media converged on Twitter. It then became the home for all outcasts of Twitter, mostly Biden supporters. The symbols explain it was created to catch those ejected by Twitter. That may sound obvious, but you have to remember we are talking about 2021. Musk didn't buy Twitter until the following year. The comm suggests the purchase was part of a larger planned-out scenario we are still living through. Coordinated not by Musk, but by all of them. October 24, 2022. Twitter acquired by Elon Musk. October 24, 2022. Climate protesters glues his head to girl with a pearl earring and gets draped in tomato sauce. Pearls of wisdom, I believe, is what is invoked with most pearl comms, but that doesn't give a clear answer to the point. To understand, let's look at history. The girl with a pearl earring was painted in 1665, which was the same year the oldest newspaper in the UK came out. Ear plus wisdom accessory equals daily newspaper. A way to describe the advent of newspapers in relation to books. And what are the daily newspapers in the tech age if not something like Twitter? So with that in mind, we have climate protesters glued to Twitter as they scream about their world being destroyed. Post-purchase. World destroyed. Lawsuit filed against Musk in Delaware. October 20, 2014. Banksy, girl with a pierced eardrum, not ear but ear plus drum. I believe drum is a symbol of crowd coordination. War drum marching. ADT security alarm as earring. Perhaps a funding reaction to the Hong Kong protests. That's a guess really, but I did decode ties to those protests to COVID's origin. November 17, 2019. First COVID-19 case. November 17, 2019. Hong Kong police siege 1,300 arrests. The point being, the push against the police in Hong Kong did not spring up overnight. China had been dealing with it for years. The first day of COVID we see what amounts to a war between the two sides. The 2014 Banksy Bank plus C security camera graffiti was a coordination fund trying to fix a problem that was only properly tackled in 2020. The things that are so wrong all across the world needed a global solution, and thus we had a global scare event. A pumpkin. A giant 187, murder charge, 17th largest Q pumpkin. But I have a ton of posts that go over this point, so let's end here for this week. Update: I'm still working on a new type of content for this blog. A set of super posts that will replace the introduction page. This will be a much better bridge for new people than these research dumps. With so much content, I'm combing my past work for suitable pieces to polish to perfection. I am fully capable of that, but it's such an important thing to get perfect. I am going very slow on the first one. The main thing that keeps it slow is I'm constantly decoding new things. My output has never been higher. Even so, I will get this done. Telegram chat. Join the Decoding Blog Telegram group. Begin decoding. Send leads. This has been Post-McCarthyism, Russian Witch Hunt, and the Roaring Kitty Grabbers.